The Green Bay Packers' transformation into an offensive powerhouse is a story that has flown completely under the radar this season, but I think it's something that needs to be talked about. Even though they went 13-3 for the second consecutive year in 2020, there is just no comparison in offensive production between this year and last year. In 2019, the Packers ranked 15th in points for, 17th in yards per play, and 16th in total first downs, posting average numbers across the board. In 2020, though, they were the number one scoring offense in the NFL, they were second in yards per play, and are currently the favorite to come out of the NFC in the playoffs. Many have attributed this sudden success to Aaron Rodgers simply playing better, which is true to an extent, but can't possibly tell the whole story. So this week, I focused my research and film study on figuring out what exactly caused the Packers to make such a wild single-season jump without major changes in personnel. I want to begin by going all the way back to January 8th, 2019, when the Packers hired former Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator Matt LaFleur to be their new head coach. LaFleur is one of the many current NFL head coaches who are from the Shanahan coaching tree. He built a relationship with current 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan in Houston, Washington, and Atlanta, as well as with current Rams head coach Sean McVay in LA before finally becoming a true play caller as offensive coordinator in Tennessee. The Shanahan-style West Coast offense is centered around the zone run game and play action off of it. It emphasizes mismatches in the intermediate passing game, as well as putting receivers in the position to pick up yards after the catch, making it relatively quarterback-friendly. As soon as LaFleur was hired in Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers immediately became the most talented quarterback to operate in a modern Shanahan-style offense, and it was impossible not to consider the obvious. The Shanahan scheme helped Matt Ryan win an MVP. It helped Matt Schaub pass for nearly 4,800 yards and 30 touchdowns. And more recently, it helped Baker Mayfield turn the Browns into a contender. So just imagine what it could do for Aaron Rodgers. The lofty expectations obviously didn't come to fruition in 2019 due to a number of factors, one of them being Rodgers himself. Even though he doesn't throw very many interceptions, Aaron Rodgers has always been an aggressive quarterback. He likes playing off script and capitalizing off broken plays. It's something that defines his game, and something that he's been able to get away with for most of his career. But as he entered his mid-30s, Rodgers no longer had the athleticism that allowed him to do this on a consistent basis while keeping the offense efficient. I lost count of how many times I saw Rodgers check off an open read to leave the pocket in order to throw a much more difficult pass last season, especially on third down. In 2019, the Packers were 23rd in third down conversion rate at only 36%, and their struggles on third down were often due to Rodgers trying to make plays when he didn't need to. Take this 3rd and 10 from Week 5 of last season against Dallas as an example. The safety lined up over the tight end split out wide tells Rodgers that the Cowboys are in man coverage. So the Packers called a man-beating drive concept with a built-in pick from the number 3. If executed correctly, the pick will allow the tight end, Jimmy Graham, to get open underneath and get the first down after the catch. The concept worked the way it was supposed to, getting Jimmy Graham open over the middle, but instead of taking the easy completion, Rodgers instead tried to force a deep throw downfield to Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Rodgers was overcomplicating things last season. He was taking risks when he didn't need to. He was checking off high percentage throws for low percentage throws, which took a toll on the offense as a whole. Here's another example from last season against Minnesota. This time, it's 3rd and 6, and the linebacker lined up over the flex tight end Jimmy Graham at the top of the screen tells Rodgers that Minnesota is in man coverage. Davante Adams is running a speed out route past the first down marker and is going up against off coverage, which won't give Vikings cornerback Xavier Rhodes much of a chance at forcing an incompletion if the throw is accurate. For whatever reason though, Rodgers instead chooses to throw deep downfield to a tightly covered MVS. The throw itself was perfect, but it was the wrong decision because the speed out was a much easier completion. Rodgers was prioritizing chunk plays like these over converting third downs, which just killed the efficiency of the Packers' offense. The people who said that Aaron Rodgers was washed up last year weren't as wrong as they might seem to be now. He was still making some crazy throws, and he kept the Packers' offense afloat because he's Aaron Rodgers. But the efficiency and production that we used to see on a regular basis just wasn't there anymore. He would often check off reads early, he'd try to improvise too often, and his play style was limiting the potential of this really talented offense. One thing that comes with his aggressive play style is Rodgers holding onto the ball for a really long time, and the longer he holds onto the ball, the more difficult it is for his offensive line to prevent him from being pressured and sacked. In 2019, Rodgers was pressured on 34.5% of his dropbacks, which was the 15th lowest rate in the league. That might not seem horrible, but it was clearly a problem considering how much Rodgers struggled when he was pressured. Last season, under pressure, Rodgers completed less than half of his passes, averaged only 6.1 yards per attempt, and posted a 75.8 passer rating. Another important statistic to consider is Rodgers' average time to throw, which was 2.74 seconds last season, making it the 5th longest in the NFL. So in 2020, the Packers' offensive coaching staff and personnel had a few things to fix. First, they needed to limit the pressure from opposing defenses, which they did by altering the offense to include less 5- and 7-step dropbacks. In 2019, these dropbacks made up 196 of Rodgers' total dropbacks, which was the second most in the NFL. In 2020, though, they made up only 143 of Rodgers' total dropbacks, ranking at 11th in the league. 5- and 7-step dropbacks make an offensive lineman's job more difficult because they let edge rushers take a wider angle to the quarterback. Take this sack that Rodgers took last year against the Chiefs as an example. Because he took a 5-step drop, Rodgers set up to pass 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage. This let Emmanuel Ogbah get around the corner to sack Rodgers while barely having to bend at all. The fact that Ogbah was able to take such a wide angle to the quarterback made the right tackle Brian Bulaga's job much more difficult than it would have been if Rodgers had taken a shallow dropback. When an offense tends to use these deep dropbacks on third down, good defenses with talented pass rushers will take advantage by spreading out their defensive linemen. Take a look at the alignment of the defensive linemen on this 3rd and 10 from last year against Chicago. There are 7 techniques lined up outside the tackles on each side, and the left edge, Leonard Floyd, is lined up way outside of the tight end in a wide 9 technique. So Khalil Mack is lined up outside of the right tackle, but will engage with the right guard because the right tackle has to block Floyd off the edge. Rodgers took a deep 5-step drop, so Khalil Mack was able to take a straight path into the backfield, which collapsed the pocket and got his team a sack. Because defensive linemen can take a wide angle to the quarterback on deep drops like these, tackles will often overset to the outside, which opens up counter lanes for edge rushers. And a good example of this is a play from last year against the Chargers. Joey Bosa attacks Packers right tackle Brian Bulaga vertically, and because Bulaga knows that Rodgers is taking a 7-step drop, he oversets to the outside. This opens up the counter lane for Bosa, who swipes back inside for an easy pressure on Rodgers. Limiting these deep dropbacks has improved Green Bay's pass protection astronomically, but altering play design only solved half the problem. Aaron Rodgers also helped out his offensive line by getting the ball out quicker, targeting more high-percentage shallow routes, and sticking to the offensive script. In 2020, Rodgers decreased his average time to throw from 2.74 seconds to 2.54 seconds, which was a result of the types of routes he was targeting. According to Sports Info Solutions, Rodgers targeted short, quick routes like swings and drags significantly more in 2020 than he did in 2019. In 2019, these routes made up 25 of Rodgers' total pass attempts, ranking at 22nd in the league. But in 2020, he more than doubled his targets to swings and drags with 56, ranking 4th in the league. One of the main reasons for the jump that we saw from the Packers in 2020 was that Rodgers is trusting the scheme more now than he did last year. He's sticking to the script and executing the game plan that his coaches designed for him. Take a look at this 3rd down and 8 from back in Week 2 against Detroit. Rodgers sees a safety lined up over his tight end, Robert Tonyan, which indicates man coverage. In response, he changes the play to a man-beating drive concept very similar to the one I showed you earlier. The number 3 and number 2 receivers at the bottom of your screen will both release hard upfield, which forces the outside cornerback responsible for the number 1 to navigate through traffic. This gets MVS wide open over the middle, and the Packers convert on 3rd and 8. This play might seem routine, but it's plays like these that illustrate the commitment that Rodgers has to the play design. When he trusts the scheme like this, Rodgers makes quick, high-percentage throws, which helps out his offensive line and keeps the pressure rate low. Of the 5 starting Packers offensive linemen last year, 4 returned for the 2020 season. Left tackle David Baktiyar, left guard Elton Jenkins, center Corey Linsley, and right guard Billy Turner. In 2019, Baktiyar allowed a pressure on 5.1% of his pass protection snaps, Jenkins allowed one on 3.6% of his snaps, Linsley did on 3.3% of his, and Turner did on 6.6% of his. In 2020, though, all 4 of those returning linemen saw significant decreases in their allowed pressure percentage, and 2 of those 4 linemen, David Baktiyar and Corey Linsley, were named first-team All-Pro. As I said earlier, Rodgers had a pressure rate of 34.5% in 2019, but only 23.7% in 2020, which ranked third lowest in the NFL. This dramatic decrease in pressure percentage was not a result of each individual offensive lineman just miraculously getting better. It was a result of Rodgers and the coaching staff making their jobs easier by limiting deep dropbacks and emphasizing the quick game. Aaron Rodgers will win the 2020 NFL MVP, and he deserves it not just because he put up the numbers, but because he altered his play style for the benefit of his team. Rodgers embraced his role in this scheme this season, which finally let us see how much damage the Shanahan-style offense can do with a superstar quarterback under center. That's going to do it for this week's video, so I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm working on a Play of the Week video from Wildcard Weekend that should go up either tomorrow or the next day, so be on the lookout for that. And for updates on future videos or just to talk football, follow me on Twitter by clicking the link in the description or by searching at BillyStevens_8. But that's all I've got for now. I hope you guys enjoyed and that you'll be back for the next one.